This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
This is the Sunday edition of the program set to go over the next couple of hours. A lot of ground to cover because we had a lot of games on Saturday. You know, that's kind of the way we like it. If you want to look ahead, next Saturday, plan ahead. It's going to be another busy one. Give yourself lots of time to enjoy these games. We certainly do. We're looking forward to it. Lots to get into. Plenty of stories from last night. The opening 2 days of the National Hockey League 2017-18 season. And a few things to look forward to as well. Great guest lined up on the program. Allison Lucan covers the Columbus Blue Jackets. She will be here to talk about the Blue Jackets, a win and a loss to open the season. Joe Yerdon covers the Buffalo Sabres for NHL.com. Joe will be with us. Love talking to Joe. Always good info. He'll have about the Buffalo Sabres, good info from around the National Hockey League. He's a fun guy. We have a good time with a great sense of humor as well. It was an interesting one yesterday with the Sabres and the New York Islanders. It was a little bit of a strange game. So we'll get into that and a whole bunch more with Joe coming up. Adam Vingan covers the Nashville Predators for the Tennessean. 0-2 to start the year for Nashville. We'll talk to Adam about the Preds, get the latest. It's early, a phrase that will be heard and used often today and probably for the next few days. So I think we should dive in and look at when you can stop saying it's early. For some teams, it's going to come sooner than others. Of course, this being Sunday as well, it is Fantasy 5, hashtag 5. 5 names for you to keep in mind for your fantasy hockey pool. Perhaps, like I am in mine, your first week is the first few days of last week and this coming week, so maybe a chance to rejig your roster a little bit, make some adjustments, make some changes, get yourself a little help in the second part of this long, extended week and the first week of fantasy hockey pools. Maybe you can come from behind and snag that head-to-head victory. Always great info from Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. Hashtag Fantasy 5. Of course, yesterday, Fantasy 5 is today's hashtag. Yesterday, it was HU Dog of the Day. I got up against the top of the clock and forgot to mention our Dog of the Day winner. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Every Saturday, Brittany, the Vegas Golden Knights fan. Yeah, there's our winner. Up on the Facebook page for hockeyunfiltered.com. It'll be up on our gallery as well on our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, where we are streaming live every Saturday and Sunday beginning at 11 Eastern, powered by Primetime Radio. Looking forward to another good season of NHL hockey. Hope it's been a good Sunday and a good weekend, a long weekend perhaps as well. Columbus Day coming up in the United States tomorrow, where they celebrate the Christopher Columbus arrival in America. Many seem to celebrate by having mattress sales or appliance bargains. This is the Canadian Thanksgiving weekend. Yes, it's a little over a month or 6 weeks earlier. I like to celebrate both. Why not celebrate both? Who doesn't want more turkey, more dressing, more potatoes, more gravy and stuff? So be thankful and grateful for family, friends. Hope you're celebrating. Hope you're having a good weekend, whether it's Columbus Day, whether it's Canadian Thanksgiving Day, and hope you're enjoying it. Now, before we go too much further, a warning. Do not look at Ian Cole's tweet about his condition after blocking a shot in the game last night between the Pens and the Preds. Ian Cole went down to block a shot, and the shot went up. I'll give you a description so you do not have to look at it. It is horrific. Halloween's still weeks away, but this is a horrific photo. He caught the puck right in the face, right in the mouth. It took a little while to clean up the ice, I will say that. I inadvertently saw the photo this morning, and I am a hater of the dentist. Hate, just like going to the dentist. Don't like anything about the dentist. I am a rabid anti-dentite for Seinfeld fans. I cannot imagine the torture that Ian Cole is going to have to go through to make the repairs necessary so that, well, he doesn't look like a monster anymore. It's gross. It's absolutely awful. So do not look at it if you're the slightest bit squeamish. I have probably piqued the curiosity of some. Be prepared. I mean, this should come with a warning, graphic in nature, may be disturbing to some, to view, and it is. So be prepared if you see it, if someone's retweeting it. It is a very graphic photo, and I was taken aback by it because I have a real sensitivity towards the dentist and that kind of stuff. But what a great Saturday we had in the National Hockey League. This was the kind of opening day that if you were with us on our Saturday program, we were talking about. A big mother of a blowout. Everybody's playing, except for Boston, because we have an odd number of teams for the moment. Yeah, that'll change in the future. But everybody's playing. It's a big all-day celebration, grand opening night, East, West, cool matchups, cool storylines, home openers, all the ceremonies that go along with it. This is what we were thinking of. The Wednesday night opening, it's fine. It's a made-for-TV extravaganza. You have a doubleheader in the East and West, U.S. and Canadian-based. But yesterday, that's an opening. That's an opening night. That's an opening day. Because we had afternoon action as well. Had the afternoon game with the New Jersey Devils and the Colorado Avalanche. I kind of like it. It was good. The other part about having a maximum number of opening games like we did yesterday with 15 is you got lots of stories. You got lots of games. There's going to be action. There's going to be something happening in one of the games if it's kind of dull like it was at times in some games like Detroit and Ottawa. I mean, I guess some people find 0-0 exciting. I don't particularly. But it went on and on and on, and then we got a couple of goals scored near the end. But you got action. You got things happening. We got a few things that we got to talk about and look at from the yesterday's action and from the first couple of days, I guess. But what about those hat tricks? Alex Ovechkin, how about it? Decided 3 on opening night wasn't enough. He'd go one better and scored 4 goals last night. I mean, that's remarkable. Is Ovi serving notice on the rest of the league? You may have written us off prematurely. He piled up the goals. The Washington Capitals piled up the goals against the Montreal Canadiens. It was pretty spectacular. We had all kinds of high-scoring games, and how wonderful is that to see? It's the start of the year. Defense is a little lax. Systems and structure aren't what there will be later on in the season. You know, the Maple Leafs and Rangers with a hugely high-scoring game. Leafs build up a 5-1 lead on the New York Rangers. That's okay. We'll change goaltenders. We'll come back and tie the game at 5. Remarkable. Fantastic. It was really, really special. Even Mike Babcock, the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, said it's kind of fun, eh? And it was. Isn't that great, seeing all this scoring, all this action, all these goals getting piled up in different games? Tremendous to watch. So much fun to see. All this excitement, lots of goal scoring. Don't worry, the coaches will have a few more practices. They'll get to their teams. The systems and the structure will become second nature. It's not for everybody, especially with lots of new players and some new coaches. The coaches will clamp down on that. But in the meantime, enjoy it. It's fun. There's a lot of scoring. It's great. It's tremendous to enjoy. Big scoring games. 13 goals. We had 9 goals scored in a whole bunch of games last night. Who doesn't like that? Lightning and Panthers had a whole bunch of goals. 9. Islanders and Sabres, Wild and Hurricanes, Jets and Flames. All had a total of 9 goals. 92 of them scored last night in total. Yes, please, more goal scoring. That's what I want to see. It's fun. It's exciting. With this decent level of scoring we've seen in the first few days, we'll remind you, here's the phrase again, it's early. When does that phrase, it's early, stop becoming a caveat? For some teams, it's going to happen really quickly. There are some teams already looking around the National Hockey League. They've only played 2 games, but they're looking at their team, the coaches, and the management. And while they'll say, yeah, it's early, they're already thinking ahead.
they're already thinking, you know what, this might not work. And that's not overreacting. That's being proactive. That's trying to be honest in the assessment of your team, because you can go into a season thinking you have a player in a certain position, on a certain line, with a defined role, and you might find out pretty early, yeah, this is not going to work for him or for us. So we're going to have to do something. So maybe as early as next weekend, there are going to be teams in the National Hockey League, East and West, that say, you know what, it's no longer early. We're going to have to start thinking about some changes. We're going to have to start maybe considering some action. Once you played a few games and it's the same issues that are surfacing again and again, making the same mistakes over and over again, coaches and management can officially start to worry. What we can see already is that offense is ahead of defense. Teams have new people in new places, new coaches, new systems. It takes time for everybody to get accustomed. It takes time for everybody to learn the new systems. The defense will catch up. A few different times at games I was watching, you could see the players, they were almost paralyzed because they didn't have the system down as cold as necessary that it's second nature. You just react. You don't have to think anymore. There were games over the last few days, you look at teams on the ice and the puck is whizzing around in their defensive zone, and they have no idea where to go, what they should be doing, what their assignment is. It's okay. We're only 4 days into the season. It'll change. Goal scoring's up. That's great. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Enjoy that while we can. But pretty soon, it's not going to be early anymore. And for some teams, it's going to be pretty quickly. Alex Ovechkin, I mentioned it's 4 goals last night. 3 in the opener. 4 more goals last night. That's 7 on the season. 7. Isabel Kershudian was on with us yesterday from the Washington Post. We were talking about the Caps, and I was joking with her. So how many goals is Ovi going to get this year? Because he's on pace for 240-something. Well, maybe we're not joking anymore because he popped 4 more last night. So now he's on pace for, I think it's 287 goals in a season. He'll slow down, but hopefully not too much. How about some Ovi numbers? Well, back-to-back hat tricks to open a season hasn't happened in 100 years. Ovechkin has now tied Peter Bondra for the Caps record of 19 hat tricks. Ovechkin, 565 career goals. 6 goals in 12 minutes of ice time. That was during the game last night. Then, of course, he added another one. As mentioned, Isabel Kershudian was on with us yesterday. She tweeted out last night, Ovechkin said his wife's sister is in town, and every time she's here, he scores a hat trick. So the good news for the rest of the league, apparently she's leaving town on Monday. Caps will be flying her back. I mean, if she goes home and Ovi gets into a cold streak, I think they should get her back. It's been remarkable to see. Big scoring games in Toronto. Montreal got ripped up by the Capitals. Lots of scoring. Calgary roared back with 5 straight goals against the Winnipeg Jets. We're enjoying the scoring while it's occurring. Whole bunch of stuff to get into today. We'll talk about teams. I promised yesterday that we'll talk about coverage of the National Hockey League, whether it's online, whether it's television and other things. We'll talk a little bit about that and what we've seen early on in the season and a whole bunch of other things as well. Joe Yerdon will join us later on this hour. Sabres had a good game against Montreal, didn't come out on the winning end. I don't know if it was quite as good a game yesterday against the Islanders. We'll talk about that and other things. We'll talk about the Preds with Adam Vingan. Coming up after the break, Allison Lucan will join us. She covers the Columbus Blue Jackets. We will talk Jackets. And, of course, Sunday means Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of Dauber Hockey. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram accounts to follow and tweet us. We welcome your comments and the conversation. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis back after the break. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. We'll problem? All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Welcome back. It's Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com. We're also on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube Live, and many other platforms. And don't forget, subscribe. If you've missed any of our programs, subscribe to our podcast, including our midweek Little Saturday podcast. It's weekend in the middle of the week. Thus the Little Saturday name. Drops on Wednesday afternoons. You can subscribe through iTunes at iHeartRadio. Joe Yerdon coming up talking Sabres. Adam Vingan coming up talking Nashville Predators. Stephen Laidlaw with the Fantasy 5. Hashtag Fantasy 5. Help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Allison Lucan covers the Columbus Blue Jackets. You can follow her on Twitter at Allison L. She joins us on the line now. Allison, I guess we shouldn't be too surprised that after an emotional opening night where the Columbus Blue Jackets rolled up a big victory, that the second night of back-to-back where they have to travel and go to Chicago and take on a revved-up team, that they would wind up splitting their first two games.
Absolutely, and thanks for having me back on the show, Todd. I think that it was kind of a game you saw coming. I think that also there's been a lot of change in this lineup, a lot of younger players. This team somehow managed to get even younger than they were last year, the youngest in the league. So I think we saw a team that tried to start strong. There was a little bit of emotion. We know what the game atmosphere is like in Chicago at the United Center. There might have been some of that underlying emotion of Panarin playing his first game back with his former team. And they maybe waded into that game a little bit, and then two quick goals from Chicago. And I think it felt like a pretty big hill to climb last night.
I was wondering yesterday, before the official lineups came out, I was wondering if John Tortorella might go back-to-back with Sergei Bobrovsky in these two games. I don't know if that'll be the case as the season moves along. I don't think you want to wear him out because you're expecting to play well into the spring. But I wondered just to start the season if he might consider going back-to-back with Bobrovsky.
Yeah, I was wondering that too, but, we've seen that it's not really the best strategy to ride the same goaltender back to back. And after the game last night, Tortorella kind of tipped his hand in saying that it sounds like their strategy is going to try to be to split their goaltenders on their back-to-backs. They have 17 of those this year, and they want to see their goaltenders get a rest. They rode Bobrovsky pretty hard last season. Of course, they had that big 16-game win streak. But what Torts really wants to see is Bob get that rest, but then also see the backup goaltender, if he's playing on a back-to-back, really step up. Torts by no means put last night's loss on Jonas Korpisalo, but he really wants to see the goaltender be one of the best, if not the best players on the ice in a back-to-back situation.
It's interesting to see how well Artemi Panarin has melted into that lineup. Everybody was curious when the trade was made, Panarin for Brandon Saad, that Panarin had great chemistry as a line mate with Patrick Kane, but he seems to have come in and fit in quite nicely in the early going, as we've seen in the preseason and in the start of the regular season as a member of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Is he going to be that sniper that they need? Every team loves to have a goal scorer that's going to guarantee you 35. If he can get 40, that would be extraordinary. But everybody wants one of those snipers, especially for the power play and those offensive moments.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. You know, when and everyone's calling it a good hockey trade with Saad returning to Chicago and Panarin coming to Columbus, the word that Jackets management used over and over again was dynamic. They wanted someone to electrify this offense and have that tremendous skill play like you just talked about. And, you know, if Panarin wasn't in your conference or you didn't get to watch a lot of him play, I will say watching him night in and night out is just, he's so much fun. He's so creative. He sees the ice in such a unique way, the way he delivers the puck to his teammates. And I think they're playing quite well together. I think as that top line of him with Alexander Wenberg in the middle and then Cam Atkinson on the right, as they really start to understand where each other is going to be, that he can have that kind of season because he is just that good.
Was there an issue with Brandon Saad, or was it just this is what we're going to have to give up to get Artemi Panarin, or was it that the Hawks came looking for Brandon Saad back and the Jackets insisted that it be Artemi Panarin coming the other way?
Yeah, you know, I don't know the exact details of how the trade went down. It sounds like it happened pretty quickly there, right around the draft this summer. But, you know, the Blackhawks were really looking to recapture some of their magic that they had from their cup runs. And I think that they saw Brandon Saad as a part of that. And Panarin was the asking price. I mean, this is starting to be a great trend for Jarmo Kekalainen, is making these more or less one-for-one hockey trades. We saw the same thing with Seth Jones for Ryan Johansson, where the Jackets have to pay a price, but they're getting exactly what they said they needed before that trade even materialized. And after they lost to Pittsburgh last year in the playoffs, you know, that dynamic word was already something they were saying, that ability to take the puck down. You only have one scoring chance, but you capitalize on it and score. They wanted to see some of that from Brandon Saad. They didn't always. So I think they took the opportunity to get Panarin. And I think it's just been a great trade, and everyone seems happy. And Brandon Saad seems happy. Saw him yesterday. He's obviously doing well in Chicago also. So it looks like everyone's good. Just a good one-for-one hockey trade with some other pieces moving on the side.
Yeah. I guess everybody's okay with it so far. Allison Lucan covers the Columbus Blue Jackets. She joins us now. At Allison L is how you follow her on Twitter. A couple of players I want to ask you about. Josh Anderson, he of the long holdout. He's signed. He's on a conditioning stint right now. Is there a plan to get him back with the team in a certain amount of time?
Yep, I guess he shared in his post-game comments there in Cleveland last night. He played last night with the Monsters. And then John Tortorella also said after the Jackets game that that one game looks to be the extent of his conditioning assignment. He's to be here in Columbus today, undergoing some more of his testing, and that infamous Tortorella skating test he was not part of earlier in the camp. So he'll be here doing that, and then staying around with the team. Tortorella is not when he will play. But the team has a game Tuesday in Carolina, and then they have a couple days before a game Friday. So I would imagine we'll probably see him Friday for sure, maybe Tuesday, but it looks like Friday is a good bet.
I want to ask you about Boone Jenner as well, who's currently injured. Not a first line player, but certainly a player that's been important to the Blue Jackets' success. What is his status, and when might we see him back in the lineup?
Yeah, we really don't know. His injury has been qualified as a mid-body injury. He did not partake in any of the official training camp activities. He's been at the rink skating on his own a little bit here and there, but there's no word. That's obviously of concern to the Jackets, not only because he put up 34 points, including 18 goals last year, but he's a big part of how the Jackets like to play. That's a big body, an aggressive body, a guy who really helps drive getting the puck into the offensive zone for them in a couple different ways. So everyone's watching and just hoping to see him get back to full health. But much like Anderson, even when he's back to full health, how long will it take him to get into game shape? There's going to be two questions there for the player to answer.
Another player that I have followed and watched, I'm happy to see him up with the Columbus Blue Jackets now. He's dabbled and been called up a couple times, but Sonny Milano looks like he's there to stay, and rewarded the coaching staff scoring a goal on opening night. I just love the skill he has, and if he can start chipping in with goals, they've got Artemi Panarin now as a sniper. That could really give them a good scoring punch.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you, he might have been the secret surprise of this year's training camp. It's a cliche, you hear it, but he came in and he physically looked different. There was a physical evidence of the work he put in on the off season, and the organization has really been challenging him to get the rest of his game going. They know how talented he is offensively, but they want to see him think a little bit more situationally. You don't always have to go for the fancy skill play. Sometimes it's okay to just chip the puck in or tap it off the boards. And he seems to be hearing that message now. He's drawing notice when he plays on the ice. He had the first goal, as you mentioned, on Friday. He had the only goal last night in Chicago, and he's rounded out his game. It's nice to see it all starting to come together for this kid.
Yeah, it really is. And we don't have to talk much about the Columbus Blue Jackets defense because it has really built itself up quite nicely. The only question, I guess, really going forward is Jack Johnson is an unrestricted free agent after this season. Is there going to be contract discussion during the year? Have they discussing it? Or are they going to put it on the shelf for a while? Or what's the plan there?
Yeah, it's interesting because the player who is drawing most of the contract attention is Cam Atkinson, who will also be fit playing in the final year of his contract this season. So there's a lot of talk around there. Cam has come out and said he doesn't want to have that kind of a conversation during the regular season, but the Jackets have done those kind of negotiations regardless before in the season, for example, with Sergei Bobrovsky. So I think that there's probably going to be some clarity start to come on Jack. It sounds like they like the player still. I mean, they've obviously liked him. He was someone they wanted to protect in the expansion draft. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. This is also a defense-heavy team. I mean, they started this season with 8 defensemen on the roster. So we'll see when they think their youth is ready and when they might want to shake it up. But Jack Johnson and David Savard had such a good season last year. If that starts to replicate, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where the team takes that. Yeah,
it really will be. Really will be good. But Columbus, this is going to be interesting to see how they do this year with the expectation. Last year it was kind of, well, we'll wait and see. But after the success they had last season, it's going to be interesting to follow them this season. We'll be having Allison Lukin back on a regular basis. At Allison L is how you follow her on Twitter. Can we mention the new gig yet, or is it not official till tomorrow?
You can announce it. Go for it.
Excellent. Allison Lukin, one of the newest members of The Athletic, and she will be covering the Columbus Blue Jackets. Congratulations on the gig, Allison. Thanks for the time today, and we'll do it again soon.
Thanks so much for having me, Todd. Take care.
Appreciate it. Allison Lukin covering the Columbus Blue Jackets. Interesting that they are the youngest team in the NHL. Many would have thought that it's Arizona. Nope. Colorado. Nope. In fact, not Carolina either. Columbus Blue Jackets, 25.2 years. Then Carolina, Arizona, Colorado, Edmonton, and Winnipeg are the youngest 6 teams in the NHL. Kind of interesting. We'll talk a little bit more about another one of the teams that is hopefully on the rise, and that would be the Buffalo Sabres. Joe Yerdon will join us after the break. Coming up as well, Adam Vingan talking Nashville Predators, Stephen Laidlaw with the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter handles to reach us. Also, really cool article I want to talk about a little bit later on. Choose hockey and why you should choose hockey. Really struck me the other day when I was reading it. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to seatgiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition. Join us every Saturday and Sunday, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to reach us. We always enjoy it when you are part of the conversation. Streaming live on Facebook Live, on Periscope, on YouTube Live, and lots to get to today on the Sunday program. Adam Vingan from the Tennessee will join us. We'll talk about the Preds, 0-2 to start the year. Also coming up on the show, Stephen Laidlaw with the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. 5 names for you to keep in mind in your fantasy hockey pool. It's the first week. It's the long week, so there's chances to make adjustments, make changes, and maybe give yourself a little boost in the second half. Covering the Buffalo Sabres for NHL.com is our friend Joe Yerdon. You can follow him on Twitter at Joe Yerdon. He joins us on the line now for the first time this season. Great to have you back as always, Joe. And I was really excited watching the Sabres early on because this looks like a team that has transformed significantly into that new style that Phil Housley wants to play.
Yeah, it's the new style's been something else to see already through 2 games. And granted, it's the results have been a little bit different through those 2 games, but it took them basically all of camp to get used to what they were doing. And when you're sorting through 50 or 60 guys, it takes a little bit of time. But now that they've got their guys in place, they've got their roster set. They're getting a hold of this, and it's a lot more style of hockey than we saw in previous years under Dan Biles, but Ted Dolan, that's for sure.
It's almost as if you have to break through a bit of a personal barrier with guys. I bet just really I can go I can go up the ice as opposed to and get through that initial hesitancy that you do want to play that up tempo style.
Yeah, and I mean, there's still some remnants of the old style that seep in there. I mean, that's going to happen until it becomes, the total set way that they're going to do things. I mean, you'll see some nods to that when defensemen get in trouble and they're just going to, dump it off the glass, or, if forwards get in trouble, it's just, throw it into the corner and, not exactly get on your horses after it. I mean, it's one of these things where, they've been playing one sort of style of hockey for about 4 years, it seems, 3 or 4 years. And getting out of that for some of the guys here, it takes a while. And I think for guys like Evander Kane and Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart, it's a little easier for them because I think they were the guys that wanted to get up and go before. And for maybe some of the other guys, it's a little bit of a change because, you're more of a veteran. You learn a system one way, and then you're changing things around completely. And it's like, all right, give us a minute here. We got to get this figured out.
You mentioned his name, so we'll talk about the contract. Jack Eichel, given the huge deal, 8 years, $10 million per, and it has received a bit of attention saying, I've had emails and tweets and comments about it. What has Jack Eichel done to deserve $10 million a year? Well, we are seeing a shift in how salaries are doled out in the National Hockey League. And part of this I have no issue with. I think Jack Eichel is going to be a tremendous player. I think he will be a $10 million $10 million a year player in the NHL if you want to look at other contracts. And you just have to wait for the final blossoming to take place. I think it would have taken place last year if he didn't miss a quarter of the season. I think it will take place more this season, and he will open more eyes, and people are going to go, wow, he really is good. And I understand why it was the Eichel McDavid kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that it's what happened last year with the high ankle injury and it cutting his season short, and getting it off to a late start after, McDavid and Matthews started blowing everybody's doors off. Jack gets lost in the conversation. And to be fair, the Sabres were pretty bad in the beginning of the season. They didn't score any goals. They didn't win too many games. So that made it tough. So when Jack shows up and he starts lighting it up, people are like, oh, well, okay, that's nice, but what's his team doing? And, the Sabres never able to get over that hump. And, I think even Jack would tell you he wasn't consistent enough to merit the attention, and even admitted that before the season started. He goes, I haven't accomplished anything yet. So he's a guy who, for those who may have argued that he was immature before, and I know that there were some voices out there about that, he gets it now. And I think his performance last year, 57 points, 61 games, that's pretty incredible stuff. And, you factor that out over an 82 game season, maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe he's an 80, 90 point guy. Who knows? But it's the kind of thing where I think if this contract thing didn't get settled now and they waited till next summer and say Jack puts up a 90, 100 point season, suddenly the Sabres are paying out $11.5, $12 million for Jack Eichel. So it works for both parties. Yeah, people are going to knock on Jack and say, what's he done yet? But it's more what's to come. I mean, they got him locked up now for 9 years. What happens?
I also think it's really, really, quite honestly, stupid of people that are comparing it to, well, Sidney Crosby doesn't make as much money as Jack Eichel does, and he's accomplished way more. Well, you're comparing apples to oranges, pal, because Crosby signed years ago and wanted that contract at that amount because he's a little bit of a number guy, because it's $8.7 million a year, and he was comfortable with that. It's a completely different set of circumstances. I think Jack Eichel has been good in the first couple of games. I think he will get better as the season goes along, and I think there's a lot of reason to be excited for the Sabres. I don't know that they're a playoff team this year. We'll have to wait and see, but it's nice to see Jason Pominville come back and have an impact. I think Ryan O'Reilly is going to be terrific, and I'm also really happy that Kyle Oposo has been back and showing as well as he has after all the troubles he went through last year.
The guy that I think everybody had circled as a potentially really big question mark headed into this season. And, for a lot of good reasons. And it's because, the health thing was such a scary situation. And, the reasons why he was in the hospital and why he was, in intensive care were kind of a mystery. And, he kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit, that it was somewhat concussion related during the summer. And, that's always going to get everybody worried anyhow. And, he came in the first day of camp and he was, ready and raring to go. I mean, it's been incredible to see that. And he's been in such a very positive state of mind from the get-go. And, I think he's a guy who's very sneakily one of the big-time leaders in that room. I mean, he's one of 4 guys that were given an A to start the year. So, I mean, he's automatically a leader. But, you look at some of the stories going back to last year when Kyle went out of the lineup at the end of the season, the entire room collapsed on it. And, there was a lot of, backbiting, a lot of sniping, a lot of bad stuff that you don't like to see in a young room. And Kyle was the guy who kind of held it together. So it's great that he's back.
And I'm interested to see how it works with Jack Eichel and Evander Kane. Are they going to play together a lot? Is this kind of, we're in the first stages of the season, we're going to see how the lines mix up? Kane's picked himself up a couple of goals. Is it going to be the same? We had a Twitter comment about that, whether if it's an adjustment going on, and will the Sabres adjust lines as the season goes along?
I think there will be adjustments, but I think Kane and Eichel, I think those 2 guys are going to be attached to the hip. I think they play so well together, they play so well off of each other, that it's automatic just to leave them alone. And I think that the only thing you're going to see is, maybe some guys switch out on those sides. I think, you're going to see Oposo and O'Reilly, they're going to stay together. I think you're going to see Reinhart and Seth Griffith. You might see them stick together a little bit. Guys like Benoit Pouliot, Zemgus Girgensons, I think you're going to see some of those guys, shift up and down the lineup a little bit as things go along. But I think Phil wants to get everybody on the same page, get things worked out, and see where things are really strong and where things need a little bit. His top 3 lines figured out pretty well. His bottom 4 is basically figured out because Josephson and Larson seem to work out very well together. It's going to be a question of Jordan Nolan and Matt Molson, how well they fit in there.
Joe Yerdon is with us, covers the Buffalo Sabres for NHL.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Joe Yerdon. Is Sam Reinhart kind of the forgotten man in the Buffalo lineup right now? Another highly touted prospect when he came into the league, still only 21 years old. He could, if he just starts to move in that direction and is able to take that next step, that could really give the Sabres a boost.
Yeah, and you know what? I spoke with Sam the other day about a little bit about, going back to center and what that meant for him, because, remember the last 2 years he was playing on the right wing, playing with Jack and Evander, and a lot of people thought that was going to be the line moving forward for this franchise for the next 10 years. And, instead Sam's back at center this year, and he mentioned that he had to look at it not as a demotion, but a chance to do something different. And I'll confess, I kind of put him on the spot to say, did Phil Housley's system have more to do with that? And he paused and he said, I've been a center my whole life. And, this is just an opportunity where, I didn't really have before. So now I'm getting a chance to do it. So let's see what I can do. He's like, we're going to roll all 4 lines. Definitely score. So let's see what happens with it. And I think for Sam, it's a tremendous opportunity, obviously, because he's another guy who's got a contract coming next year or in the summer. And he's got to get it figured out to find out, see what happens here. And obviously he'll get a little bit more money if he's the top center than he is if he's the top wing. But he's a tremendously talented guy. He had a down year last year, even though he still put up some pretty good points.
Yeah, and I just think that could be a piece of the puzzle that not a lot of people are looking at and are thinking about, but could prove to be a nice building block. Not the cornerstone necessarily that Jack Eichel is, but he could be a really nice piece for the Buffalo Sabres moving forward. I also like their defense core. I think that the team has done a really nice job in making some moves at the start of the season to improve their defense core. I like the acquisition of Marco Scandella. I like Nathan Beaulieu coming in as well, provided that they're both used properly. I think they can really both help the Sabres.
Yeah, and I love that Beaulieu is coming into a team with Phil Housley as the coach, because I think if there was a knock on him in Montreal, it was that he wanted to play that sort of like old school Housley style, and in Montreal that doesn't really fly too well. I mean, look at PK Subban. He was kind of like a Phil Housley-esque player. It just didn't work there for him. So I think for Beaulieu, it's an obviously huge opportunity. He's been paired with Rasmus Ristolainen, so that's the nice guy to have paired up with. And Ristolainen's been playing like he's got an angry bee in his bonnet the entire preseason and regular season. So I think it worked for a good pairing. And the other guy that I think this is going to be huge for is Zach Bogosian, but he got an injury the last preseason game of the year, and he's working his way back, so we're going to see him sooner than not, I would imagine. But certainly Scandella. I mean, we didn't see him all preseason. He had off-season hip surgery, so there were some issues there. But he stepped right in game one and looked great, and I think he looked pretty solid again last night. It was a bit tougher of a game, but for a guy who didn't play any games in the offseason, I think he's been very solid.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a little adjusting, but I think Buffalo is going to be okay, and I think we can look for some nice improvements this year. I know you and I have talked about this before, and I think we may still disagree on it. Robin Lehner got a one-year contract, $4 million, and it's I think it was kind of a, okay, show me what you got contracted, and he's at that stage in his career. I'm going to wait till the season's over, but I haven't changed my mind as of yet.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling last night's outcome did not do anything to help sway anybody's confidence in him. To say that they have confidence in him, this is a pretty poor showing, and I'm sure Robin after the game would admit right away that was a very bad showing. And
yeah,
that kind of inconsistency is kind of his bugaboo. It's been his issue in Ottawa. It's been his issue in Buffalo to this point. And, he was able to get a stop in the shootout against Montreal. And, it was a shot off the post. He didn't really get a pad on it, but goes in the stat books as a stop. So that's, that you can start building up from there. But I feel, Robin can be a tremendous goalie, but there's just there's something here or there where you can't really put your finger on it as to why he can't, something isn't totally set there, and I've been trying to figure out this mystery, and I just can't for the life of me. So I hope it can get figured out. Andrew Allen's a tremendous goalie coach, and he does a ton of work with these guys. So if there's something to figure out there, and if it's a positional or physical standpoint, I think Andrew will do it. But maybe he gets a little bit too busy in his head, and things get a little wild from there.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. It's going to be an interesting one to watch. Joe Yerdon covering the Sabres for NHL.com. At Joe Yerdon is how you follow him on Twitter. Great stuff as always, Joe. I appreciate it, and look forward to talking to you again as the season moves along.
Hey, you got it, Todd. Always good to talk to you.
Appreciate it. Joe Yerdon from NHL.com, who covers the Buffalo Sabres. I just think Robin Lehner is he seems to have some physical attributes that work well to play goal. I'm just not sure if he's got the mental attributes that necessarily mesh with those physical attributes. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports are the Twitter and Instagram handles to reach us. Lots more to get to on the program. Adam Vingan from the Tennessee will join us in our next hour. Also coming up in our next hour, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DauberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Little help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Whole bunch of things to get to. A little TV talk coming up and coverage of the National Hockey League. Not just television, but a lot of it about television and a few other things. Stories from games over the first few days of the National Hockey League season. And also some things to look for in the coming week. Not just games that will have particular key matchups, but also a few things I'm already starting to look at on a number of teams around the NHL. Plus a really cool story about choosing hockey. That and much more all straight ahead. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you miss the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with SeatGiant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
Nearing the conclusion of hour number one, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. One more hour to go. After the top of the hour, we'll talk to Adam Vingan from the Tennessean about the Nashville Predators. That's at about quarter past the hour. And also coming up before hour number two is done, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports. Email is todd@hockeyunfiltered.com if you need more than the 140 characters. Lots of good in the first couple of days of the National Hockey League season. We've seen a whole bunch of goal scoring. Maple Leafs had a big opening night against Winnipeg. Chicago had a big opening night at home against the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's been terrific. It's fun. The systems aren't quite set. Everything's a little shaky in terms of the defensive zone coverage. But it's been fun early on, and that's been the good part. Lots of high-scoring games. Last night, we had a whole bunch of high-scoring games. Leafs and Rangers combined for 13. Lightning and Panthers had 9. They wound up splitting that home-and-home series to open the season. The Wild and Hurricanes had 9 goals. Jets and Flames, 9 goals. That's good. I want to see more scoring like that. It's what makes hockey fun. So it makes it interesting. I kept jumping around from game to game last night as I'm watching, and I kept going back to Ottawa and Detroit thinking, well, maybe somebody will score a goal eventually, and you had to wait till the final couple of minutes of the third period before we got one. Okay, there were a couple of good moments, but it just didn't grab me. It just wasn't captivating the way a game with more scoring was. It's fun. Mike Babcock said it after the game last night. He said, hey, it's kind of fun, eh? But he was also quick to point out that maybe that's not the way you want to play, which is too bad, but that's coaches. They want everything buttoned down. They want everything so disciplined and so structured that you just move from point A to point B, and that's how you make your way up the ice. Puck goes here, I go here and do this. Puck goes over to the other side, I move over here, and that's my job. It's very structured. But at the same time, it's a wonderful game to watch, and I'm not complaining overly about it. I'm talking about it in a passionate sense that I really enjoy it and I really like it, and I want to see more of it, and I want to see more of the skill, and I want to see more of the speed and the fun and the personality. And I happened upon an interesting story last Friday that's written by Lauren Thiessen. We reached out to her, but haven't been able to hear back. We're hoping to have her on. But the name of the article, it was on deadspin.com. We'll tweet out the link to it. At Hockey Unfiltered is our Twitter handle and Instagram handle. We'll tweet out the link to it. It's called Choose Hockey. And it's not very long, but it just kind of goes through a couple of reasons and interesting observations about the game and why it's exciting, why there are things that you enjoy about it. Especially at this time of year when you've got Major League Baseball playoffs going on and the games go on and on and on and on. And that's okay for a while. And football is one thing and the NBA is another. But then you find hockey. And then there's just a very brief sentence that says hockey is poetry. And I can relate to that. And Lauren, the author, speaks glowingly about announcer Jim Hewson, who puts the frantic pace of the game into an understandable string of words and captures the excitement of it as well. She's not unrealistic in that it's perfect and it's wonderful, and I think we all understand that. We all agree and know that. Says hockey is flawed, like every league. The NHL extorts cities for public money, player safety. The culture of sport can veer towards conservative nationalism, discourage players from having any kind of off-ice personality. And that's true. There's not nearly enough personality from the players or from the teams in the NHL. It's getting better. It has gotten better in recent years. It still has a long way to go. And I want more of it. I want more personality from players. It's not in everyone's DNA. Not everyone is comfortable being the extrovert. I can appreciate that. But it's okay that you don't have to give the standard answer to a question like we got to be on our game right from the start and bring our A game and give 110%. If you have an opinion, it's okay. You can say that. There's nothing wrong with that. But the other part of this story about choosing hockey, it's the actual action. What's on the ice from start to finish is, for my money, closer to perfect than anything else on TV. The constants of hockey relax you, entrance you, while at the same time drawing you to the edge of your seat. Here's another important part of this same story. It's called Choose Hockey. We'll tweet out the link. Hockey commands a certain level of commitment. You're going to miss things if you look down or flip the channel, but it will always reward. And that's a wonderful part about the game. There's excitement on every play, and I love that it's a continuous stream of play between whistles. There's no setting up on a line of scrimmage the way football is. I like football. It's enjoyable, but it's a different kind of game. It's station to station. You get a couple of seconds of action, and then you got guys on piling, and then you have to talk about what you want to do next, and then you have to line up at the line of scrimmage, and then you have to rethink everything you just talked about in the huddle and decide what the other team is doing makes you want to do something different, and then you have about a 6-second play. Hockey is a continuous stream of action, and don't try to tell me that basketball is too, because those guys loaf. I've watched basketball. It has little flurries, but it's slow. Nothing competes with the speed and the skill on display on a sheet of ice by National Hockey League players. It's beautiful and wonderful to watch. And while I might criticize something occasionally, it's only because I want to make it even better. Because I've been captivated by it since I was a young boy. Since I started playing, skating outside and playing outside. And this article just grabbed me in that same kind of way. You can watch a game, whether it's a regular season game, a game in the middle of the season, in January, when it's the dead zone of the schedule sometimes, but there will usually be a moment, sometimes and often multiple moments in a game where you'll go, wow, that was impressive. That really got me. That was a great display of skill. That was a fantastic shot. How did he manage to make that stop? Those are the moments you have in hockey, and you have them regularly. That's why it's unlike any other game. It's a cool piece. We'll tweet out the link to it. @Hockey Unfiltered is our Twitter and Instagram handle, @Todd Lewis Sports as well. Lots more to come in hour number 2. Adam Vingan will join us. Stephen Laidlaw will join us with the hashtag Fantasy5. Help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back after the break.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Here we go, hour number 2 of the program. Lots of ground to cover. Lots of games yesterday. Lots of good matchups in the week ahead. Is it still early? It is for some. It'll quickly become, we better look into this time for a lot of teams in the National Hockey League. Adam Bingen covers the Nashville Predators for the Tennessean. He will join us this hour. And, of course, if it's Sunday, it must be Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you and your fantasy hockey pool. Good names to keep in mind. I was looking at a few of them, trying to get a hold of them in my fantasy hockey draft last week. Sometimes you're successful, sometimes you're not successful, but that's okay. That's why we have Stephen Laidlaw with us every week for the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports are the Twitter and Instagram handles. We just tweeted out the piece from Lauren Thiessen, Choose Hockey, that we were talking about in the last hour if you missed it. It's a good piece. It's not very long, just kind of captures the moment. It's just a great description of the terrific game. We had 15 of them in the NHL schedule yesterday. Started in the afternoon with the New Jersey Devils and their home opener. Successful. They were victorious against Colorado Avalanche. 14 others, 4 late games, some really good stuff. I was talking yesterday about the Devils and their home opener and the new scoreboard and everything. It was marvelous. It's a big, huge thing, 60 feet wide. It's 4 stories tall. And I still think the Devils could surprise a few people this year. They're not a playoff team or anything, but I don't think that they're going to be the softy that some people think they might be. Like some of the moves that they've made, I think some of the things that they have done are good. Nico Hischier looks terrific. Defenseman Will Butcher had a nice opening game yesterday. Devils got the victory. So here's a thing I caught too. And the Devils players apparently have a taste for a certain beverage. It's not what you think. They have a taste for pickle juice. No, really, pickle juice. As in jar of gherkins, the juice inside. Or I don't know if they're gherkins or bread and butter pickles or whatever. But I guess it is good for hydration and staying hydrated. Pickle juice is helpful that way. I wasn't aware of this. I have heard of other beverages that help players or athletes stay hydrated, but I guess pickle juice is something. This is a real thing. But if you want to stay hydrated, a little pickle juice will help. No, this is not a euphemism. It is actual pickle juice. But here's the really curious part, and this is why it got my attention yesterday. You don't need to really drink this right out of the jar, do you? But that's what Blake Coleman was doing in the penalty box yesterday of the Devils and Colorado Avalanche game at the Prudential Center. Seriously, he's in the penalty box and one of the other Devils skates over, hands him a jar of pickles. I don't know why you got to drink it right out of the jar. If you want to drink the pickle juice, sure, okay, whatever. I've heard of it used in other sports. Baseball pitchers use it. Baseball players use it. It apparently helps prevent blisters. I had no idea that it was good for hydration, but that's apparently the thing. So there is a couple of shots of Blake Coleman sitting in the penalty box, cracks the top off the pickle jar. He starts taking a few sips. I've heard of players using Pedialyte or other beverages, but do you need to drink it out of the pickle jar? Do you need the actual pickles in there is what I'm curious about. Do you want the pickles there just in case you want to have a little snack as you're sitting in the penalty box or on the bench? Get a water bottle, maybe put a pickle on the side of it so you can know whether it's Gatorade or whether it's water or the pickle juice, because you sure don't want to mix those up. Think you're picking up a water bottle, getting, the nice orange Gatorade or something, and you wind up with pickle juice. This is a real thing. I don't know why, but pickle juice. Apparently it's good for hydration. I had no idea. But that's what I saw yesterday. I got it off in a bit of a tangent. I mentioned this in the last hour, and I said yesterday I was going to do a whole bunch of things on the coverage of the NHL, whether it's television, whether it's online. There's been a big transformation in terms of coverage, especially online. A few things that I've noticed so far this year. Some really positive news, which I'm pleased about. Some positives in terms of league coverage and getting more NHL information. I've seen things presented early on. We've seen changes in online coverage. A lot of outlets have cut back on NHL coverage, which is dreadful and is too bad. CBS Sports Online really hacked back for a while, but it looks like they've come back in the right direction, which is good. I mentioned on Saturday's show that I was really enjoying the Athletic coverage. It's terrific. You don't get the game summaries necessarily of who scored and stuff. You get more in-depth, interesting pieces about players, about teams. There is still just way too much clickbait, headline-grabbing stuff that I find incredibly frustrating that you have to wade through. For Twitter, could we just designate that one person tweets updates about games from the press box instead of like 10 or 20 people tweeting something like, oh, big save by whichever goaltender? It just clutters up everybody's timeline. We could just get one down. That would be good. First few games on NBCSN, it's very much the same formula they've used. I like Liam McHugh as a studio host. I think he does a good job directing traffic. It's quite formulaic, though. Toss to one analyst for a comment, then another. I know some people like Jeremy Roenick. At least I'm told some people do. I find him tiresome. Mike Emmerich, I could listen to forever, calling play-by-play. I think he's terrific. And I think he could do a hockey game by himself. Ed Olczyk is away receiving cancer treatment, so they've got Mike Milbury subbing in. He is what he is. He's not a favorite of mine. Pierre Maguire, most people, I guess, either like him or don't. His energy level, I will tell you, is genuine. He's smart as hell. He really is. And a bit too praising of coaches sometimes, I think, but he knows what he's talking about. NHL Network is really the only place that you can get highlights on television in the U.S. My long-standing complaint about NHL Network, you got a 1-hour show on many nights, like last night, and I don't get to see every goal in the games. I'll give you a pass on the empty netters. That's fine. I want to see every goal in every game. You spend too much time trying to manufacture a storyline that you want to highlight, and I want to see games and goals. Their afternoon show, NHL Now, got a huge upgrade, bringing in Jackie Redmond, who was working in Canada. Huge upgrade from what was there. As for analysts on the NHL Network, give me more Mike Johnson, give me more Dave Reed, give me more Brian Lawton, and less of the others. I've seen a number of the home broadcast teams. Not all of them, of course. I like that Buffalo has brought in Marty Biron to do pre and post game and between periods. It's great. I know you want to be supportive of your home team, but let's dial it back a few notches already. Some are just complete whiners on the home team. Let's try to have a bit of fairness. I don't care for the new sports scoreboard ticker on, or excuse me, the bug up in the corner on the Fox Sports Network broadcast. It's just a little big. Hockey Night in Canada, pretty much the same as last year. There's a couple new little wrinkles. The first show on Saturday night, the pregame show, Hockey Central Saturday, little quicker pace, couple new little production wrinkles. It's good. It's a little slicker. It's a little faster. I like that. The addition of Chris Johnston to the Saturday headline segment is good. That's a positive, good information. Like hearing Louis DeBrusque. He was working with Dave Randorf last night on the Vancouver game. They against Edmonton, I think they do a good job together. Craig Simpson in Canada is perhaps the highest level of a skill player that's used anywhere as an analyst. He sees things that most people don't, and that's what I like. The example last night, the best example last night was in the Leaf game against the Rangers, and there was a goal review on an offside, on a challenge, on a coach's challenge that Alain Vigneault initiated. He was all over it. He knew exactly what was being looked for and was able to explain it while everyone else is guessing rather. Ranger Feed was wondering how on earth could they possibly call that a goal? Well, if you listen to Craig Simpson, who works at a level above most analysts, he knew what they were looking for. And he said, I don't think there's anything that's going to turn this over. Boom, that was the call. I think we need more of that type of analyst. Smart, skill player. I want to see fewer smart-ass backup goalies. I want to see far fewer fourth-line players at best who give you the cliches of, I got to get in there on the forecheck. I got to get pucks deep. I want to see something a little more involved than that. Overall, I'm great. I'm grateful for all of the coverage. I'm happy. I'd like to see more of some things, less of others. I'd like to see more in-depth, smarter analysis, skill players. Look at the big networks on US TV and in football. Who's the number one analyst on CBS? Tony Romo, quarterback, smart, skill player. NBC, Chris Collinsworth, smart, skill player. Fox, that quarterback, Troy Aikman, number one, smart, skill player. That's what we need more of in terms of analysis. Oh, but the suggestion of, put this guy on because, he's fun, he's got a sense of humor, he's got a personality, he makes smart remarks. That doesn't help promote the game. That doesn't help grow the game. That doesn't help teach people the skill and the finesse and talent needed and involved in the game. Give me smarter analysts, skill players, and pay them what they're worth. And maybe that's the biggest problem, is that superstars get paid a whole lot of money, and then, why would I want to go and do TV or radio or work for peanuts? Pay them what they're worth. Elevate the coverage. Got a favorite? Weigh in. I'll let you know. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports on Twitter and Instagram. Coming up after the break, Adam Vingan will join us. We'll talk about the Nashville Predators. 0-2 to start the season. Remember, it's early, the phrase that will be heard often over the next few days. It's still early for some, but it will quickly become time for action for others. Also coming up before the top of the hour, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Little help for your fantasy hockey pool. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. We know you hate to miss an episode of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, so you don't have to. All of our shows are available as podcasts just after the live broadcast finishes. Yeah, we have dozens of little elves that work really hard and get all the audio put together and then distributed out into the universe. Not exactly, but it's available through our website, and you can subscribe through iTunes, iHeartRadio, Blog Talk Radio, and all kinds of other places. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, always available on demand. Check it out on our website. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Welcome back. It's the Sunday edition, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, here every Saturday and Sunday, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Periscope, on YouTube Live, powered by Primetime Radio, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles for us. Hashtag today, Fantasy 5. Stephen Laidlaw will be with us before the top of the hour with this week's Fantasy 5. Hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. 15 games yesterday, just one today. Both teams could sure use a victory, too. Rangers, they got pounded in Toronto last night. Washington ran over the Montreal Canadiens. Those two teams meet today. But yesterday, it was 15, a busy Saturday. Wouldn't that have made a great opening day? A little more on that coming up. The Nashville Predators have gone 0 for 2 to start the season, but it's early. Adam Vingan covers the Nashville Predators for the Tennessean. You can follow him on Twitter at Adam Vingan. He joins us now. It's early, right, Adam? There is no reason to panic, correct?
Well, if you're judging that based on an informal poll of Predators fans on Twitter, the sky is falling. It certainly doesn't help that the Predators have as many goals through 2 games as a team as James Neal has on his own night, especially when he had 2 against Dallas Stars on Friday. That didn't sit well with a lot of Predators fans who were mostly upset that he wasn't protected in the expansion draft. But as you were saying, they started 2-5-1 in the month of October. They were the second worst team in the NHL last year after the first month of the season. And of course, we know how the season turned out. But one thing that they spoke of during training camp was wanting to have a better, more consistent season so that they could have home ice advantage in the playoffs, because we saw how much of a home ice advantage Bridgestone Arena was in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They went 9-2 there. But of course, since they were the last team in the West to clinch a playoff spot, and they were the 8th seeded team, they had to start on the road in all of their series, which put them at a disadvantage. So starting 0-2 doesn't help, especially when you look around the Central Division and you see the Blackhawks score 15 goals in 2 home games against the Penguins and Blue Jackets, and the Blues are playing well. And the Stars have lost their first 2 games, if I'm not mistaken. So it's too soon to panic in early October. They haven't even played a home game yet. But there are certainly some things that they need to figure out.
And I would say that there are 30 other teams in the National Hockey League that have things that they need to figure out. And that's part of why it's too early to panic. There's other teams that I'm way more worried about than the Nashville Predators. As you mentioned, they started with a couple of road games. They get to play at home in a couple of days. I think it's also good that they have a couple of days off now before their home opener against the Philadelphia Flyers, and that game against the Pittsburgh Penguins is over and behind them. Because say that was last year all you want. You're facing the team that you faced off against for the Stanley Cup in the regular season, and that's going to capture your attention and I think distract you a little bit. Now they can kind of focus on the job at hand, which is 80 more regular season games.
I think it was good that they got that first game out of the way, but both teams entered that game pretty angry because the Predators played a largely uncompetitive game in Boston to open the season on Thursday. The score is 4-3, but they scored 2 power play goals in garbage time. The score not a reflection of their effort, which was much worse than that. They played overall, but of course they were shut out. They have won games, and going back to what I was saying at the beginning, one of the reasons why the Predators were comfortable leaving James Neal to be taken by Vegas is that they thought that they had a lot of young players that could collectively replace him. Of course, when you have a line like Philip Forsberg, Ryan Johansson, and Victor Arvidsson, you don't have to worry about them, but you have to look at Kevin Fiala, who didn't play last night because of an upper body injury, or Pontus Aberg, or Freddie Gaudreau, who actually did not make the team out of training camp. He was sent to the American Hockey League. You hope that Craig Smith has a bounce back year. You hope that Scott Hartnell does too. You hope that Nick Bonino is actually a second line center, which he wasn't last night. He was actually a third line center. So, they shuffled their lineup a little bit last night. There are a lot of question marks on the forward side. This team has shown that it can score in bunches and that they can be a skilled team. I think what was missing in that first game, and which came about a little bit last night because of the fact they were playing the Penguins, was that attitude that they like to play with. They game, and I don't feel like for the most part they've done that to start the season. But there were 64 combined penalty minutes in the third period last night, and used to torment the Predators when he was with the Blues, had 24 of those minutes. And he also scored a goal to add insult to injury. So it is good. They have the day off today. They'll practice tomorrow, and then on Tuesday they'll open it home against the Flyers, and they hope that, returning back to Nashville for a couple of games will right the ship.
I think that getting back in front of the Preds fans at Bridgestone, I think that will sort of, in a sense, give them a chance to reboot, restart the season, however you want to phrase it. They will be back at home. They'll be back and a little more comfortable. But you're right. Those are legitimate questions that you pose about the Nashville Predators that they have to look at going forward. But again, I think this is that, like so many other teams, they have some new players that they want to put in. They still have to define some roles for players. You mentioned Nick Bonino, Scott Hartnell. I don't know how much they're going to rely on him, but I think he'll be able to contribute a little bit. You hope that injury is not serious for Kevin Fiala, and by all accounts, it's not. But you want to start seeing some positives in the not too distant future. Otherwise, by next weekend, if they're still struggling, then that might be closer to the time to hit the panic button.
Right, because teams that start, without wins on usually that's it. We saw it with the Blue Jackets a couple of years ago, as the most recent example that I can think of. So in the next week, they play the Flyers at home on Tuesday, then they host the Stars on Thursday, and then they go to Chicago, where the Blackhawks have apparently taken out of summer's worth of frustration out on their first two opponents. I mean, they scored 0 goals in 2 games against the Predators at United Center in the playoffs, and they scored 15 in their first 2 home games this season against Pittsburgh and Columbus. So, that's a big game too. And then they come home after that and face the Avalanche. Road trip to face the Flyers again and the New York Rangers. So it's not a particularly easy schedule, but now they have to win 2 games.
Yeah,
so, I think they'll figure it out. Yeah. But
yeah, I'm
If this week, continues as it has been, then yeah.
That's the last thing that they want, is to have the same kind of thing continue for the for the Nashville Predators the way it has. At Adam Vingan is how you follow Adam Vingan on Twitter. Covers the Preds for the Tennessean. The Preds have opened up 0-2. They get Philadelphia at home on Thursday. A couple of days of practice. Do you have an update on Kevin Fiala? You mentioned that he missed the game last night with an upper body injury, and today is a day off. I don't know if you're going to get much more info than that, but do you have any further?
Well, I'm not expecting them to say anything other than what they've already said, but it doesn't seem, of course you can't always tell just by looking at a player, but I did speak to him yesterday. The Predators held an optional morning skate in Pittsburgh, and once most of the players who were playing in the game had returned to the locker room, Kevin was in there putting on his gear and going out to skate with the scratches. Of course, we know that he suffered a gruesome leg injury during the second round of the playoffs against St. Louis. And I asked him yesterday when he started to feel like he was back to normal with his leg. And he said it was about early August. So I don't think is nagging him. Obviously, they're listing it as an upper body injury. So it's at least we apparently know that it has nothing to do with the injury that forced the season to end prematurely. But I would assume it's nothing serious, just because he was skating yesterday and seems to be fine, just based on looking at him, of course.
For the Preds' first two games, the goaltending duties were split between Pekka Rinne and Jussi Saros. I suspect that's because they have a few days off now. They want to get each player into a game, each goaltender to get a start before they open up at home and the games start coming a little quicker. Has Peter Laviolette addressed how much he may or may not want to use Pekka Rinne this season? Will he scale back his number of starts?
Well, he always talked about this plan that they have as a coaching staff, but he actually never talks about the plan. There is one, and it often doesn't go as scheduled, but Pekka Rinne will likely start both. So they thought that, getting Jussi Saros to start on the road against an Eastern Conference team, was a good spot for him to get his first game action of the season. Of course, the predominant storyline entering the game as well as during the Stanley Cup Final is that Pekka Rinne has never won a game in Pittsburgh.
Right.
He's 0-6 there, including the playoffs with like a .755 save percentage. So in a lot of ways, it actually made sense to start Jussi Saros last night. And I thought he looked okay. Gave up a goal minute and 6 into Evgeny Malkin, and then a rebound goal to Jake Gensel later in the first period. But I thought he made some strong saves and kept the Predators in the game up until a point where Ryan Reeves tipped in a shot to make it 3-0. And I think the Predators had a lot more scoring chances yesterday than they did on Thursday. And I think they had the opportunity to get back into the game, but the Penguins were able to capitalize before they could.
Yeah, and you're right. That was the next part of my question, was that it makes perfect sense that Saros would start the game in Pittsburgh because of the difficulties, and you just hopefully avoid all the questions, at least until you're better capable of handling it. Is part of the story with the Nashville Predators this year the level of expectation that is on this team? Sure, they just got into the playoffs as a wild card team last year, but then of course had that run to the Stanley Cup Final, coming up short to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Is that something that the Predators and their fans are going to have to understand and approach the season differently with expectation this year?
Well, I think that's an interesting topic and something that I plan on writing about before the season, the home opener on Tuesday, is that Nashville, of course, being Music City, is used to seeing a lot of one-hit wonders, and the Predators fans came out, and maybe people that weren't even Predators fans became Predators fans because of the run to the Stanley Cup. Filled with people and paraphernalia, and it was an amazing atmosphere, and it was praised by everybody who was able to experience it in person. And I heard stories over the summertime of people that I know who I actually saw from a reporter who works for another publication in Nashville, saying that she ran into a couple from Calgary at the airport who wanted to come to Nashville just because they saw what it was like during the Stanley Cup final and wanted to experience it themselves. Like, it wasn't even during the season. It was like a summer vacation. And that's the thing the Predators have to realize, is that those fans, they have the fans that are going to be there for them at every game. They sell out regularly. But, they put themselves into the public of Nashville more so than they ever have in their 20 years of existence. I mean, that's a big deal, considering the market and where the team is located, just in terms of which sports typically are at lines around here, mostly football. The Predators, they rushed through that, no pun intended, and became the top team in the area. But if they struggle, those fans aren't going to come back. I have a very unique opportunity here to continue to cultivate a fan base now that their fan base is probably larger than it's ever been. And if they continue to struggle, I mean, who's to say that those fans who were captivated during the final won't just stop caring? So that's just something that I think, thinking about that, maybe that's just something I'm thinking about, but I mean, it is a interesting underlying storyline, I think, during the season.
I agree with you. I think that's a real thing that the Preds and a few other teams are going to have to deal with this season. Probably, though, not to the same public extent that the Nashville Predators do. Adam Vinget of the Tennessean, at Adam Vinget is how you follow him on Twitter. Good stuff today, Adam. Enjoyed the conversation, and hopefully we'll do it again soon.
All right. Thanks, Todd. Anytime.
Thank you, Adam Vinget from the Tennessean. You've got a city and hockey fans from coast to coast in Canada and the U.S. captivated as you're playing the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Stanley Cup final. Every country star in Nashville is clamoring to sing the national anthem before the games. Keith Urban, Trisha Yearwood, Little Big Town, a whole bunch of others. You captured a lot of people. The atmosphere inside that building, great city, the atmosphere outside the building. That's a real thing, the expectation that the Nashville Predators are going to have to deal with this year. You got new players coming in. Scott Hartnell, he's not the biggest one. Nick Bonino is a significant addition, though, because of who he's replacing. Mike Fisher, longtime Pred, their captain last year. He decided to retire. There's an expectation on Ryan Johansson and Philip Forsberg and Victor Arvidsson and Kevin Fiala and others to score goals and to produce. They have a good defense score, even though Ryan Ellis is going to be out for a number of months. The goaltending is going to be pretty good, but there's a level of expectation with that team. They're one of the teams that the phrase, it's early, is going to get old quickly. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Instagram and Twitter handles. Before the top of the hour, Stephen Laidlaw will join us. This week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. We tweeted out the link to the pickle juice consumption in New Jersey yesterday. I still laugh every time I see it. It's the funniest thing. Yeah, drinking pickle juice. It's one thing to be drinking pickle juice, but right out of the pickle jar. Maybe it's a sponsor thing. I don't know. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
As is the case just about every week, this show is flying by. So much good hockey talk and discussion. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Saturdays and Sundays, streaming live on hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio. Also live on Facebook, live on Periscope, YouTube, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow. Before the top of the hour, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DauberHockey.com, will join us. We'll give you a little help for your fantasy hockey pool. Hashtag Fantasy5. Steve's got 5 names to keep in mind. Maybe you can pick them up on waivers. Maybe you can get them through trade. A little help for the early season action in your fantasy hockey pool. I always have trouble early in the season. I get a little impatient sometimes. So I'm trying to be more patient this year because I've had guys in the past where I'll get them and I think I've made a great move. And then 2 weeks in, nothing's happening with this guy, and I get rid of him. And sure enough, that's when they get hot, start reaching and achieving their potential. So that's why got to be a little patient. That's why everybody's saying in the National Hockey League right now, it's early. It's still early. We're only a couple of days in. Some teams have only played 1 game, others as many as 3. But it's still early. When will it not be early? Depends on the team. Depends on which team. For some, it's going to come sooner than others. There's already things I'm looking for and watching for with teams going into the first full week of the NHL action, which begins on Monday. Like Detroit. I figured Detroit was going to get buried early. They still might. It's only 2 games in. But Jimmy Howard has been good in his first 2 games. How long can he keep it up? That's one of the things I'm watching for. I thought Detroit was really going to be in the tank this year. I don't want to say they've exceeded expectations, but they've got a couple of wins. Winnipeg. Talked about the Winnipeg Jets on our last program as well. They started off well in their game against the Maple Leafs, and they started off well last night in their game against Calgary. But then they wound up fishing the puck out of their net a lot. They better snap out of it quick or they will get buried. That's a tough Central Division. They'll get buried early. Chicago Blackhawks had a message to deliver on opening night, and the Pittsburgh Penguins were the recipient. Boom, 10. Now, Pittsburgh was flat. They weren't good in game number 2 for the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Hawks opener. Second night, back-to-back, Pittsburgh traveled. You unveil a Stanley Cup banner at home. That takes a little out of you emotionally. I'll give you that. But Hawks kept it rolling. Again, second night, back-to-back, your opponent traveled. It was the Columbus Blue Jackets on Saturday that were the recipients of the beating by the Chicago Blackhawks. Jackets were not their emotional best. Same thing. Had a big win at home to open up their season. Nice shutout. Sergei Bobrovsky. Sonny Milano scores his first goal. Everybody's happy. The Hawks are an interesting one. They've scored a minimum of 5. Yeah, they had 5 on Saturday against Columbus. They had 10 against Pittsburgh. Okay. Is that going to be the over-under for a while? I'm not so sure. But I'm watching the Hawks early on because they've been able to score goals. I still think there's question marks about their defense, and maybe those will show up later, but we'll see. Philadelphia Flyers have opened the season on the road. They're on the West Coast. They've also won 2 of their 3 games. That's a tough ask. Okay, you know what? You're an Eastern Conference team. You don't have much travel. You're going to the West Coast to open your season. If they can pick up a point or points against Nashville on the final game of their 4-game road trip to open their season, that's big for the Philadelphia Flyers. That's big in that division. To go out west and get points, that's big. The highly touted Dallas Stars this year are 0 for 2. Tampa Bay Lightning had a home-and-home series with the Florida Panthers to open up the season. First in Tampa, then in Sunrise. Tampa opens up a lead. 2 nights in a row, 2-0. They're up over the Florida Panthers. Yet at the end of game number 2, they've each got a victory. Tampa's got things to clean up. But I like what I've seen. They're back. They can score goals. There's still going to be questions about their defense. There's going to be questions about their goaltending because Andrei Vasilevsky isn't a proven commodity yet. It was the right move. It was the right thing to trade Ben Bishop and give Vasilevsky the job. He's proven he's earned it. He's ready for the chance. I like their backup situation too, Peter Budaj. Okay, but Tampa, they've impressed me in the first 2 games. Still got some stuff they need to work on. Still got some things to clean up. But they've been impressive. Is Alex Ovechkin really going to score 287 goals? I would say it's highly unlikely. But much like the Chicago Blackhawks had a message to deliver on opening night, the Washington Capitals, and in particular Alex Ovechkin, have delivered notice as well that they're here to play this season. Oh, they had to get rid of a bunch of players. It was the end of that current window being open, so now they're trying to open a new one. How many other players are going to score on the Washington Capitals, though? That's still a bit of a question. Sure, yeah, I've seen a little chip in from TJ Oshie, but Ovi's got 7 of 11 on the year. New York Rangers, loss at home to open the season. Got pounded by the Toronto Maple Leafs. 5-1, the Leafs were leading. Good, give the Rangers some credit. They came back, scored a goal late in the first period, changed goaltenders, battled back to tie, but then, sort of fell apart. Toronto scores a victory. Now Toronto as well. You scored a whole bunch of goals against the Winnipeg Jets. You scored a whole bunch of goals against the New York Rangers. Yeah, it's still early. There's still some things to clean up because the team doesn't come back and score 4 goals on you if you're in control. Montreal was fortunate against the Buffalo Sabres. They got handed their lunch by the Washington Capitals. They need a win. It's Montreal and the Rangers in the lone game on Sunday in the National Hockey League. See, and again, this is a good illustration of why a big opening day Saturday is a good idea. 15 games, 30 teams playing. I think that's the way to go. Open up the season. One big day. Sure, you're only going to have a game, maybe 2 on the Sunday, but that's all right. It's Sunday. The NHL schedule doesn't really get busy on Sundays until second week in February after NFL football is over. So I could see this being a thing. I'd like to see that work. There's still other teams I'm wondering about too. San Jose has dropped 2 games at home, 1 to Philly, the other to the LA Kings on Saturday night. I am already a little bit worried about San Jose. I went back and looked and I thought about it and said, yeah, okay, they should still be good enough to get into the postseason. I'm already a little worried about that pick. Again, it's early. It's too soon to panic. But this is what everybody's doing right now is they're going back and reviewing their predictions and picks. Oh, I don't know if I like that one. Don't know if I like what I've seen in the first couple of days. First couple of games were tough for San Jose. They lost at home. Nashville, 2 games on the road. Haven't looked great. A little bit worried. Other teams, less so. Winnipeg looked terrible. Florida looks flummoxed at times. I think they'll be okay. I don't think they're a playoff team yet. I think they're just a bit overwhelmed with all that's been thrown at them with some new players and a new coaching staff and a new system and structure. And I think they're still trying to figure it out a little bit. How about Vegas? Feel good story first few days of the season. Couple of victories. James Neal, real deal, OT winner on Saturday. Scores the 2 goals in the victory against Dallas the night before. They will open up at home this coming week. A celebration, yes, but also somber with the events of last week. Should be quite a night with dramatic victories on the road to open the season. And perhaps, I guess, it's all right and it's worked out for the best that the Vegas Golden Knights didn't open up at home this week. That they have a couple of games on the road and they don't get back into Vegas to play until this coming week. But we'll see. Another note from the early days of the National Hockey League season. Saturday night, forward JT Brown of the Tampa Bay Lightning was in the lineup for his first game of the season with Bolts and the Panthers. It was the second game of the home and home. Brown raised his fist in the air as a show of solidarity during the playing of the national anthem. JT Brown also did so during preseason games. Wasn't as highly reported on. I have no issue with JT Brown raising a fist to show solidarity and to promote equality, freedom, and justice for all. I do not believe it is a disrespectful act to the flag or to the country or to the military. Giving equal rights to one group does not mean giving fewer rights to another. It means equal for all. And I think that's the message that JT Brown is trying to raise. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports are the Twitter and Instagram handles. Our final segment up to the top of the hour will highlight some of the upcoming games this week. Stephen Laidlaw also with us, the managing editor of DauberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Little help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Novo Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, beginning at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio, live on Facebook, live on Periscope, YouTube, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. And don't forget, subscribe to our podcasts on iTunes and iHeartRadio. It is the segment that many wait for every week because they are getting set for their fantasy lineups, to set for the day, looking ahead to matchups this week. Are there players that can help me in my fantasy hockey pool? Yes, it's early in fantasy hockey as well, but it's never too early for the Fantasy Five. Hashtag Fantasy Five. The managing editor of DobberHockey.com, Stephen Laidlaw, is our guest. At Steve Laidlaw is how you follow him on Twitter. Steve, how are you? Everything good in the first couple of days of the fantasy world?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm doing great. I mean, we always know that early on weird things are going to happen, and sure enough, weird things have happened. And yeah, so nothing that's too crazy that I can't handle it. I'm not going to sit here and overreact to anything. Stay in the course.
Very good. I was just talking about that in the last.
Out in a few weeks.
Yeah, I was talking about that in the last segment. That there's usually a point early on after a week or two where somebody I had high hopes for, I get frustrated with and dump them. I'm trying to avoid that this year. So stay the course is still the plan.
So just in terms of strategy, guys who you took at the top end of your draft, even, let's say roughly around 10 rounds in, you're going to stay the course with those guys. And then those last few rounds, the guys that you took flyers on, those are the ones where, you can afford to kind of take it or leave it. If those last few round flyers that you took aren't starting off strong, then jump on the guys who are, Ryan Hartman, et cetera, et cetera. Jump on those hot starters because those guys are going to fly off the waiver wire real quick. And, a few of them are going to hit. And then you just kind of keep cycling through those hot options, but with the back end of your roster. Don't take any of those proven commodities, even if they're starting slow.
Okay, well then let's get to this week's Fantasy Five. Hashtag is Fantasy Five. Name number one is Evgeny Dadonov of the Florida Panthers, who has been making himself known early on.
Absolutely. A proven veteran who was over in the KHL for a while. He proved himself to be an elite talent over there. So we know that he's capable of scoring, and he's up on the top line with Barkov and Huberdeau. And I mean, I think maybe some folks are sour on the Panthers and have forgotten how good Barkov and Huberdeau are because of their injuries last season. But I mean, Barkov's almost a point per game player. Huberdeau is, kind of got that potential as well. And so with those guys healthy, you've got exposure to two elite talents in Dadonov.
Name number two on Steve Laidlaw's Fantasy Five for this week. Hashtag Fantasy Five. Charlie McAvoy, the Boston Bruins, tried to get him, couldn't, but he's available. I like him.
Yeah, he's a wicked talent. He'd probably be my favorite rookie defenseman if I thought that his opportunity was going to stick for the full season. We saw it in the stretch run last year and into the playoffs. McAvoy is the number one Boston defenseman. He's pretty awesome at it. They also have Torrey Krug, who's injured right now. And so that's why McAvoy's getting all those top power play minutes. I would expect Krug to take over the top power play duties when he gets back healthy. But until then, McAvoy's a legit number one option for you.
And another defenseman is named number three on the Fantasy Five. That is Will Butcher of the New Jersey Devils.
So you saw it yesterday. 3 assists. He's getting some power play time. Right now, the Devils are looking like towards kind of splitting power play time evenly between their first and their second unit. Right now, he's technically on their second unit, but I mean, their best player in Taylor Hall is also on that unit. So, you're getting exposure to elite talent. And he's a guy who, he scored at a point per game level as a defenseman in college the last couple of seasons. I think he's a talented puck mover on a team that doesn't have a lot of those. I think there's opportunity there for him to be a 40-point defenseman.
This is the Fantasy Five with Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. At Steve Laidlaw is how you follow him on Twitter. Name number 4, Vladislav Namestnikov, Tampa Bay Lightning, also on the score sheet early on and expected to do more.
Yeah, he's kind of the glue guy on the Stamkos Kucherov top line. He also gets top unit power play time. So unlike a guy like Zach Hyman, who's the glue guy on the Matthews-Nylander line, but doesn't really get much in the way of power play time, Namestnikov is also on their top power play unit. So this is a guy who you might be able to find on the waiver wire, who's getting exposure to elite talent, not only at even strength, but also on the power play. So I think that makes him a really strong candidate to go for 60 points this year.
And the final name on this week's list, the Fantasy Five, hashtag Fantasy Five from Stephen Laidlaw, the guy they call Kuzi, Evgeny Kuznetsov.
Yeah, he had a really bad season for folks last year, but we know he's an elite talent. And it seems like they're pretty committed to sticking him with Ovechkin all season long. But the real reason that he's going to be having a great bounce back year is because he's taken over Marcus Johansson's spot on the top power play unit. And, the Capitals power play is one of the tentpole power plays of the league. They're always among the top 5 in terms of efficiency. A lot of elite talent on that power play. So that's going to expose him to a lot of opportunities for points that he didn't necessarily have last season. So I mean, this is all the makings of another 70-point season.
Have you not heard that Craig Laughlin on the Caps broadcast refers to him as Kuzi all the time?
Yeah, I know. It's just always entertaining when you hear it.
Okay, good enough. Steve Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. At Steve Laidlaw is how you follow him on Twitter. Great stuff as always, Steve. Appreciate it. We'll do it again next Sunday.
Absolutely, Todd. You stay strong, stay patient.
Staying strong, staying patient. Thanks, Steve. If you missed any of Steve's Fantasy Five, we'll tweet it out and put it up on our Instagram account as well, at Hockey Unfiltered. Here are the names one more time. Evgeny Kuznetsov, the guy they call Kuzi on the Caps broadcast of the Washington Capitals, Vlad Namestnikov of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Will Butcher, the New Jersey Devils, Charlie McAvoy, rookie defenseman for the Boston Bruins, and Evgeny Dadonov of the Florida Panthers. Just one game on the Sunday NHL schedule. It is Montreal and the New York Rangers. It is two teams that need a victory. Both got pounded pretty good on Saturday. Montreal Canadiens at the hands of Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals. That's 7 in 2 games. 7 in 2 games for Ovechkin. How many can he get this year? Well, I think you need to adjust whatever projection you had upward a little bit. Did you have him at 30? Oh, I had him higher than that. I thought touching 40. Now I'm thinking over 40. Really seems motivated and back. It's Montreal and the New York Rangers today. Rangers were thumped by the Maple Leafs in Toronto. Oh, one thing. Before we go, I got to squeeze this in before we go. The Maple Leafs, mayhem has taken over. Leaf fans can now get Canadian currency with the Maple Leafs on it. The Canadian government has issued Maple Leaf coins, actual currency with the Leaf logo. The Canadian dollar is referred to as a loonie. It's a dollar coin referred to as a loonie because there was a loon on the first one. I don't know if the Leafs are getting a cut on this, but you can order a roll of 25 loonies from the Canadian Mint. The cost? $54.95. More than double what they're worth in currency. Scam. Thanks to Stephen Laidlaw. Thanks to Adam Vingan for joining us. Thanks to Joe Yerdon and Allison Lucan for joining us in our first hour, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back again next Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Check out our podcasts on our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and through iTunes and iHeartRadio. Have a great week of hockey. Back again next Saturday and Sunday.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you missed the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with Seat Giant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.